All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome back for another David Hartman webinar. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Donna Chow, and I'm your host and your moderator for today's class. Here at eLotus, we have been hosting educational courses for over 2 decades, and we are proud to be your trusted source for premium CEU content with over 200 speakers, 700 courses, and 3,000 hours of continuing education. Today's webinar is Numerology and Acupuncture Point Combinations, Personal Years and Arrows of Pythagoras, presented by David Hartman. So this is the second of a 4-course series on numerology and acupuncture point combinations. You can register for the upcoming live webinars or purchase the video recordings later to reap the full benefits of the entire series. CEUs are available with both options. Or even better, I recommend the Gold Pass membership, which gives you free access to all these classes as well as unlimited CEUs and free herbs. I'll provide a link for you in the chat room so that you can see what thousands of your colleagues have already joined and learned from various masters, different protocols that have made their practice the dream practice that they have always wanted. Today's webinar is from 9 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, and we will have 4 breaks, with lunch from 1 to 2 p.m. For lecture notes, you can download them from the Blue Course Access page in your eLotus account. For the webinar chat room, we do ask that you set your preference to everyone so that everyone who is joining us today can see what you're typing and nothing will be missing from the conversation. And to ask David a question, please enter your question into the Q&A box. And when time allows, David will respond to them. And finally, the quiz and the video replay. I will send you guys an email tomorrow once they are both available to you. Our speaker, David Hartman, is a licensed Chinese medicine practitioner who has been in practice in Brisbane, Australia since 1997. David is well known for his trademark acupuncture point combinations, for which he has also written a textbook. David has spoken at conferences and seminars all over the world, and here at eLotus, he has taught classes on the 5 spirits, emotions, mental well-being, as well as the 5-element archetypes and 5 spirits acupuncture, all of which are now available for purchase as distant learning CEU videos through elotus.org. I'll post the link when I get back to my computer for you guys. David's presence here today is truly an honor and a privilege. So without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome David. David, please take over and share your PowerPoint.
Thank you, eLotus. Hopefully everything is working. And that you can hear me okay and see me okay. I saw a couple of you with your little toasty, welcome from Toasty, California, or wherever it was. Yeah, a little bit colder here. I can never work out the Fahrenheit Celsius thing, but yeah, it's pretty cold for Brisbane. It's been getting down to about 5 to 6 degrees Celsius at night time. So you can probably work that out yourself and let me know what that is so everyone knows what that temperature is. That's cold for Brisbane. It normally is still t-shirt and shorts, or as we say in Australia, well, the short shorts are called stubbies. Oh, thank you. 41 degrees. There you go. Yeah, so it's a bit confusing because in Australia, a beer bottle is called a stubby, but short shorts are also called a stubby or stubbies. So there you go. So I could be wearing my stubbies, having a stubby, and in my thongs, and yeah, it's a whole thing. So anyway, welcome, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come along again today. For those that were not here yesterday, that's okay. We kind of tried to make sure that the days were separate enough that it didn't have to be that you attended each day, because we've got obviously quite separate stuff. But for those that were here yesterday, this will add in and continue to round out your knowledge base, I guess, about the numerology system and then how that obviously can be incorporated into Chinese medicine. So, as I said yesterday, it's an exciting opportunity to, I guess, take something that has been of particular interest to me over the better part of the last 30 or so years. And yeah, thongs, thank you. Thank you, Leanne. Yep, not the other thong. Although I guess you could wear a thong under your stubbies if you felt that way inclined, but yeah. Let's behave. So the first part of today is going through the personal year numbers, and then the second part of the day is going through the arrows. For those that were not here yesterday, what we'll get you to do as we progress through the day is to learn about yourself, but also take the opportunity to stay engaged in the day by including extra people that you know. So for each personal year, for each person that you learn about, you'll get lots of different examples across those personal years. Because otherwise, in some ways, at your birthday, so every time you have a birthday every year, you have a personal year number. So you work out what that number is, and as we go through the notes today, you'll learn about that number, and you'll know, okay, well, in a year or two, I'm going to be this number, and a year or two ago, I was this number. But to stay really engaged, I think it's good to have half a dozen or so other people where you've worked out their date of birth and what their personal year numbers are going to be. And then also, again, with the arrows. So you're constantly, I guess, staying engaged with the content. Okay. So let me get my slides up. All right. So yesterday we had another quote from Carl. Today I thought this was a good one again, just to continue to enhance the understanding of, I guess, archetypes and who we are as a person. And this one is, do not compare, do not measure. No other way is like yours. All other ways deceive and tempt you. You must fulfill the way that is in you. And the thing I liked about this particular quote is that it kind of fits really any archetype system you want, or if you don't necessarily even care all that much about archetypes, what it's hopefully doing, I guess, is challenging you to really look at yourself and go, well, is this a representation of what is really me? And if not, then look at what it is that I'm perhaps straying away from in regards to the best version of myself, and look to, I guess, refine that and bring it back in. And as we go through today and we do personal year numbers, we look at universal years as well. And so we have a kind of an interesting situation where we can hypothesize whether the universe had 2020 in mind for COVID. Like, was it always going to be something that appeared around that year? And it's a hypothetical, of course, and people could argue, well, you know, it's a disease that appeared and it's always going to appear as it appears. It has nothing to do with numerology. We're going to, I guess, hypothesize what the 22nd of February 2022 meant, because there happened to be 6 2s on that day. So we're going to look at some of these interesting things that have been happening the last few years, and I guess hypothesize about them as well. So again, not assuming that you were here yesterday. So obviously yesterday we went through the main ruling or life path numbers. If you missed yesterday, it's, as Donna said, there's an opportunity for you to go back and watch that and learn from that and work out what your ruling number is. And obviously today going through the personal years. This is really interesting for me personally. I really love seeing how each year on my birthday, the universal energy is shifting, so that at any given point, I can go, okay, well, if I want to kind of, I guess, run with the energy that's being provided for me, if we want to call it chi, universal chi, then this is essentially how this year could track out. You can ignore it. You can go, I don't believe in this sort of stuff, and that's all fine. Personally, I've found that it's quite valuable to know what's there. And I'm a bit of a person that kind of goes, well, I don't need to have something set in stone. I'm aware of what's out there. I'm aware of what the energy is doing for this year, but I'm also going to live my life. And that kind of, I'm not fighting the universal chi, but I'm still being me. And I'm still not saying that I have to live my life exclusively towards one system of thinking. And so I'm going to give you an example of how that's affected me this year on my personal year. How I've had great success this year, but the universe has also banged me on the head a few times and said, hey, Davo, you're going a little bit too hard. So we just need to slow you down for a bit. And so certain things have happened this year just to pull me up. Because, you know, if you're fighting universal energy, you're never going to win that battle as much as you might want to try. So we'll look at that example as well as we go through today. Now, unlike the Aussie quiz yesterday, excuse me, so much to do, so little time. I thought, and some of you might have done this already with me in the 5-element archetype system, but Aussies love, and I'm sure that's not dissimilar to a lot of other cultures, we love shortening people's names and then adding an O or an A at the end for some reason, or sometimes a Y, or say EY at the end. And then sometimes weirdly, because us Aussies don't have to make a lot of sense, we abbreviate the name, but then make it the same length that the name actually was, or sometimes even make it longer than the name was by adding bits at the end. So, example of what that might look like is Donna. If you shorten Donna, you essentially get Donza, so that's not really shortened it. Sharon becomes Shazza, that hasn't really shortened it. Bill gets Billy, which kind of made it almost longer. Steve, Steve-O, and David, Davey. I don't like that. Don't call me Davey. But some people quite like that when they're called David. But essentially what you do is you shorten your name and then add an O or an A to the end of it. So some of you want to put up on your chat how that might mean that your name is, your Aussie name. What's your Aussie name? So I'd be David, Dave, Davo, Penza. I know. Kimo. There we go. That's a good one. Betsy. Beto. Beto. That's what is it? Jackie. Jacko. Jackie-O. Jacko. Connie de Conza. Yeah. Stacy. Yeah. See, sometimes it's really hard to actually do anything with names. Stace. Probably just stick with that. Gregory. Grego. Yep. Penny, Penza, Penzo. Oh my goodness me. Dirk, yeah, I know. You've just made your name just became longer. Kim, Kimmy. Kim would be Kimmy. Kimmy, look at me, Kimmy. Sylvia, yeah, I know. Some Dawny, Dorno. Phyllis, Philo, yep, that's a good one. Anna, Anzo, yeah. Joyce, yo. Oh my goodness. Catho. I know, Angie, but Anjo, I don't. Oh my goodness. Yeah, oh my goodness me. Susan, Suzo, yeah. I don't want Joy. Yeah. Yeah, Jenna, Jeno. Jen, you'd be Jeno or Jen. Jono, yeah. So John just became longer. I mean, I guess Mary Ann O. Mary, yeah. Mary, yeah. This is funny. And see, the minute you start to try and change some people's names, it just doesn't work. Randy, Rando. Chris, oh my goodness me. Kim, yeah. Mine is usually shortened to Al, so it'd be Aloe, yeah. Genza, Kimmy. Oh dear. Yeah, it doesn't always work, does it? But it's interesting to have a little play with names. Some of you have been putting in the chat where you're from. I appreciate that. If you haven't done that, ditto. Are you all from America? I had a little look to see, because there's often people from Europe and the UK at my workshops, and I guess that'd be early evening over there. But I noticed in the chat there was a range of different people from different parts of America. Just having a little look at the chat. There we go, Munich. Yeah, Dirk. So it must be early evening, I guess, for you in Munich, or can you say Munchen? Munchen? Is that how would you? It's something like that. Santa Cruz, Long Island. Yeah, so what's that, about 12 o'clock then? Just having a little look through the link here, through the chat. Yes, there we go. Oh yeah, Toronto, Brazil, lovely. Iran, fantastic. 6 p.m. in Munich, yeah. Lovely. And how long have you been practicing for? I've always called my boyfriend Steve-O. Yeah. My wife's the only person that calls me Davey. Acupuncture, 10 years, 30 years. Bridget, you got a couple of years on me. 9, 10, 3, 21. Jackie's 30. Anna's 35. Yeah, Deborah, you're about the same as me. This is my 30th year. Yeah, Munich is beautiful. I did a bus tour through Munich a few years ago when I was going to a conference. There's this really awesome conference called the Rothenburg Congress, which is usually live every May, around the middle of May. It's Rothenburg or Rotenborg ob der Torba, or however you say that. Sorry, I'm being horrible with my Aussie stuff. 38 years. It's between sort of Frankfurt and Munich. So you fly into either of those cities and then you cruise across on trains to Rothenburg. It's like a 4 or 5 day Chinese medicine conference. It's amazing. There's often like 10 to 12 different speakers on at the same time. Rothenburg, let me write it in. Rothenburg Congress. It's like in the middle of May next year. It's amazing. I think it's going to be live next year, but it's a good way to get all your CEU points in one place. But yeah, lovely location. If you ever thought of going overseas again, now that the world's opening up, that's a good place to go to get your acupuncture CPD. And what else do you do other than acupuncture in your careers? Do you do acupuncture and massage, acupuncture and naturopathy? What sorts of things? Yeah, CEUs in Germany. Why not? I've been there twice. I'd go every year if I could. It is amazing. Usually about sort of 1,000 to 1,500 people that go there each year. Classical Japanese acupuncture, herbology, internal medicine, massage. Yep. Rolfing, yeah, cool. Registered nurse. Abdominal massage, Tuina. Yeah, for those that don't know, Tuina is like, I guess, Chinese acupressure, massage. Teach Qigong, lovely. Shiatsu, herbs. Cool. Professional, and during the pandemic, do professional food styling for companies. It's been interesting, this pandemic, how it's given us a different look at things, I guess, and how we might adapt, I guess, to some degree, because what the pandemic has shown me certainly is you can't keep doing the same thing you've been doing. It's almost like the universe has said, okay, world and everyone in it, let's assess what we're doing. Specialize in drug and alcohol rehab. Awesome, John. So NADA protocol might be something that is considered there. For drug and alcohol rehab, I don't necessarily do NADA. I have some other strategies based on the type of drug, based on alcohol. Fascinating area. Yeah, interesting stuff. Lots of different sorts of things. Autoimmune diseases, okay. Some very challenging places that people are working in. Yeah, thank you, Kim. That's a very bang on. What a beautiful wide range of healers indeed. Bless you all. Thank you for sharing. I really do appreciate that. It's hard when you stare at a screen to remind yourself there are actually people out there specializing in fibromyalgia. Yeah. Remote acupuncture. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. It's unfortunate, I guess, in some ways that it isn't live, because the thing I like doing is in the breaks, engaging with people and chatting to them face to face and learning more about you all. And that's unfortunately not something we can do. But, down the track, the world will not stay closed forever and we'll be able to do live stuff again. Yeah, and tuning forks. Thank you, Jackie. Yep. Thank you, Kim. So I live in Brisbane. Look it up on the map as to where it is. It's is a lovely part of the world. I'm very happy here. I do like to travel around. I have been to a range of different places in Australia and I'm pretty happy in Brisbane. Probably the only real negative is summertime. It gets brutally humid and hot, but it's not as bad as some places. So like going up to Cairns, which is higher up in Queensland, is a lot worse. But, it is what it is. Everywhere isn't always going to be perfect. And maybe if it was perfect, it would start to get a little bit boring, because it's like, well, there's no change. Everything's the same. Who would know? I've been practicing since 1997. I started doing acupuncture. I started studying acupuncture in 1993. I do tuning forks as well. I use different types of tuning forks, not the same company. I use biofield tuning forks, like say the 174 hertz, the 528 hertz, some weighted forks. So there's unweighted, weighted, depending on whether you're working, like putting the forks on acupuncture points, or whether you're working more in person's aura or field, in and around or above a chakra. I use Accutonics tuning forks. It's just a different area, another kind of thing that another string to my bow, I guess. I did do massage for a long time, but you can see, well, you can't really see, but like I've broken basically every finger I have, and I've had some accidents with stuff as well. So massage for me has become problematic in regards to my ability to do that. And so tuning forks became a convenient substitute, I guess, a different way of looking at doing something. So where I might have shoved my thumbs into a point, I can now push a tuning fork down into that point. It's, I guess, a different way of looking at something. Obviously, numerology is important to me. The drawing analysis is kind of a little bit of a side project. It's quite interesting. My mum knows a bit about it. So for some patients that are really struggling to get a sense of who they are, you get them to draw images of things, and it gives you a look into, I guess, their subconscious, and helps to, I guess, get a better look at the inner workings of the person. Sometimes a person's rational mind dominates over the top of everything else and acts almost a bit like a bully, and so you lack a sense of what's happening, I guess, underneath. And if you get out of your own way for a minute and just draw something, then it can give you quite profound outcomes. So today, as I said, the first 3 parts as we head into the lunch break will be on the personal year numbers. So the first bit before our first break is laying down what a personal year number is, explaining that process, look at colliding numbers, and then how to work your personal year number out. So there's a dedicated section for that. Now you can work it out anytime you want, but if you're like me, and I said this yesterday, I struggle as a multitasker. And so if I'm trying to work out my personal year number while I'm an attendee and someone else is talking, I can't do both. And so my recommendation to you is that you wait till the dedicated opportunity to work out your personal year number. Depending on how the time goes, it'll either be before the first break or straight after the first break. And we'll have, say, 10 minutes to work it out. And we'll put it up on the chat if people need confirmation of what their personal year number is. And it's an opportunity for you to work out multiple people's personal years. So as stated yesterday, have half a dozen different bits of paper with a person's name, date of birth, and then under that we'll put the personal year number, what the date and the number for those people as well. And you can start to track a range of different people's personal years. And what's interesting is that you might go, oh, I'm a 4 personal year this year, and my daughter is as well. And then you kind of compare how your 4 years have gone against each other and see if one of you is having a better year than the other one. Like you constructively, I guess, compare what's happening. And then looking at what other people's years are throughout the, as I said, the morning. We have a quick look at universal days and years, and that's where we'll look at the 22nd of February, 2022, and what that meant as a day for all of us and what it meant for kids born on that day. A hypothetical, because we haven't had that number pop up in a very, very long time, and possible, yeah, anyway, we'll get to that. And then we look at the hypothetical of what 2020 and COVID has meant for us. And then we'll just lay down the ground rules of how the point combinations are constructed in regards to putting elements and spirits to them as well. And then I will try to allocate as much time as I can to question and answers. For those that were here yesterday, that's dependent on how I go with my slides and my time. So the second part will be looking at personal year numbers 1 to 5. There's no real place to start with the personal year numbers. 1 seems logical because it's the beginning of the cycle, which, by the way, is one of your quiz questions. So the beginning of the personal year number cycle is a 1. Then we go right through to 9. And then after the 9, it goes back to 1 again. So it seems like a logical place to start, excuse me, but it's somewhat confusing because an 8 personal year, then a 9 personal year, and a 1 personal year is actually 3 years in a row of extreme power. So even though you reset and start again at a 1, it's actually the 3rd year of power. So bear with me as we go through the personal year numbers. In some ways, you almost need to hear a few of them in a row before you get a sense of how it tracks. Then in the third part, we'll finish off through 6 to 9. Then we'll have our lunch break. Sorry about my croaky throat. Excuse me. Just have a drink of water. We'll look at the arrows of Pythagoras after lunch, what they are, what they mean, what a full arrow means, what an empty arrow means, what it means if you don't even have any arrows. And that's another quiz question, that you can have full arrows, empty arrows, and no arrows. It depends on you as a person. Then we'll have a dedicated time for you to work it out, lay down the ground rules again of the elements, the spirits, in terms of structuring your point combination. There are repeated slides through each of the 6 parts. So it's more about keeping a structure to each set of slides, and we will not continually repeat the same information. It's there, but we'll kind of skim over it. And then we do the first 8 in the 5th part of the workshop, and then the remaining 8 to finish off the day. And you can see some of the names. Arrows of determination or resignation, intellect or poor memory, practical or impractical, active or hesitant. You're getting a sense that each one that's side by side tends to look like it's almost the opposite. And that's dependent on whether that particular line has an arrow that is all numbers there, or if there's no numbers there. Doesn't have to make sense right now, but when we work it out, it will. And you'll look at your arrow chart and you'll go, oh, look, I have a missing one, or I have a full one. Or, you know, when you do your other people do their arrows, you'll get some more consistent views of what's going on there. It's quite interesting. APC is acupuncture point combination or point prescription. It's basically a treatment that you're choosing. So across all of today, you're going to get heaps of acupuncture point combinations for each of the personal year numbers and for each of the arrows. And so at the end, you've basically got, say you've got a patient with a personal year 1, and maybe they're struggling in that space. They should be having this really successful year, but they're not. Then you might treat them next time you see them for their personal year, so that their body and mind and spirit are tracking better with universal energy. And then watch what happens. Because often we're just getting in our own way. And so these point combinations potentially can shift the energy so that we resonate better with the energy that's in the universe. PYN means personal year numbers. It's just abbreviating so that the slides aren't so wordy. For those of you that have been to any workshop I've ever done, you will notice that my slides are quite wordy, but it's partly, I guess, giving you content that's, you know, something that's almost you can keep and keep learning from as handouts. So PYN is personal year number abbreviated. As stated yesterday, but for those new today, I'm going to put dates down as the American version, as in the 27th of July 1986 would look as 7/27/1986. In Australia, it would actually be 27/07/1986. I will try to put the date as a written date as well, just for those of you that are in different parts of the world watching this, you'll be reminded of that date change. The same books are being used. I had a little bit more of a reminder of the websites out there again yesterday. And I had another look at Dan Millman's Peaceful Warrior website, and that's actually really handy again, as I said, to put dates into, especially for your ruling number. So personal year numbers. We have all found that some years of our lives stand out for their exemplary progress, others for their time-consuming frustrations. These cycles allow an important balancing and overall growth. There are, in fact, cycles of change in the life of every person, which can be readily analysed, recognised and applied to each year through which we pass while on Earth. Once we arrive at this point of recognizing our cycles of change, we shall become aware of their purpose and act more wisely in cooperating with them. I'll come back to that. More progress is always achieved by swimming with the current than by fighting against it. I like the little finish there. But the key bit is that third little paragraph. Once we arrive at this point of recognizing our cycles of change, so working out what your personal year number is, we shall become aware of their purpose and act more wisely in cooperating with them. Now, again, it's dependent on how strict you want to be or whether you want to test the waters. As I said, I'm always willing to challenge myself and challenge the universe a little bit. But I'm also very aware of what year I'm in. And so it's still understanding that I can fight and fight and fight and try to make something work, but it's going to make for a very complicated and difficult year. So you still live your life, but just being aware of what's sort of happening there in the background. What am I getting from the universe this year? Because every year has something really beautiful and special to offer you. And in some ways, you can fight it and you might get through that year and go, well, I won. You know, the universe can't tell me what to do. It catches up to you because the universe is giving you opportunities to grow across 9 years. And each year is a different evolution of that growth. So if you fight that and get through to the next year and feel like you had a really, really interesting year that wasn't tracking with really what was supposed to happen that year, the universe will sometimes say, well, you didn't listen and you missed an opportunity of personal growth there. So let's backtrack. And so the next year is almost like a mushing or a merging of 2 years at once, because the universe is trying to say, well, you still didn't learn about this back here. So let's fast track you through that so that we progress. And again, if that's not making a lot of sense, as we go through each personal year, you'll go, oh, I get what David's saying now. What Davo's saying. So this is a bit of a summary of what we've already talked about, what we're doing. So you will get, as I said, a dedicated opportunity to learn your personal year number. So just at the moment, if you don't mind, not that I can see you, just be listening to sort of the process of what these personal year numbers are, what they mean. So your date of birth provides you with your ruling or life path number. That was all of yesterday. So for those of you that are new today, basically the date that you're born, that number system creates a ruling number or life path number. It also provides you with your starting personal year number. So the first year of your birth, the first year of your life, your ruling number and your personal year number are the same number. So for me, my date of birth is the 10th of October, 1973. It adds up to a 4, or 22, which then becomes a 4. So for me, my ruling number is a 4, and my personal year number for my first year of life is also a 4. And then I turn 1, and my personal year number goes to a 5, but my ruling number still stays at a 4. My ruling number never changes. That's my number for my entire life. Hence the life path or ruling number. But every year on my birthday, my personal year number changes. So it changes every year on your birthday. That's another quiz question. The personal year number changes every year on your birthday. So whatever number you currently are, which we'll work out shortly, it will move up by 1 number every birthday. Until you get to a 9, you run through the 9 year, and then on your birthday, you don't go to a 10, you go back to a 1. Personal year numbers track from 1 to 9. 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 to 9, for as long as you live. The occasional book or website does say that your personal year number actually changes on January 1 each year. That's a universal thing. That's not your birthday. That's not you changing from the date of your birth to your next year cycle. That's like a convenient, December 31 into January 1. It's a new year, so we'll give you a new personal year number. That would be called a universal year number, but it's not your personal year number. Now, for some numerologists, they're adamant that it's January 1. I'm not going to argue with them because they've probably got a ton more experience than I do on numerology, and that's their belief system. So if that's what they believe, then that's fine. In the same way that I believe that, say, do 20, by way 100 meetings will raise energy or drop energy, or raise energy and drop energy in the same treatment. I can encourage it to do a particular thing by, say, if that's my needle, threading back against the flow of the do channel to send the energy down, or I could send the energy forward to bring the energy up. Intention, and needle it however I want, but I believe that by way 100 meetings raises energy or drops energy or does both in the same treatment. And some people listening, well, we got nearly 140 people, not all of you are going to agree with me. Davo, you're wrong, mate. You're wrong. And this is where, again, if we were live, we could sit down over a stubby and have a chat about why we have different views about Do 20. It makes for an engaging conversation. We can both be right. How absurd is that? But we can. So it's our belief system that's inherently creating a form of intention and a form of value for our patients and our belief systems. So if another numerologist believes it's January 1 and I believe it's your birthday, well, we can both be right. But for the quiz and my personal belief, since today I happen to be the lecturer, it is your birthday that the personal year number changes. So it's a number to consider alongside your ruling life path number. And that's why yesterday I got you to write your name at the top of a blank piece of paper, your date of birth, and what that added up to for your ruling number. Now what you're going to do soon, not yet, patience, below that, you're going to write your birthday, your last birthday. But again, just wait a minute, and then we'll work out what your personal year number is. And later on, we'll do the arrows below that. So your ruling number, of course, is the one that governs your entire life. The personal year number changes from year to year, meaning that every year, different universal energies will come and go for every birthday that you have. So the personal year numbers give you an insight into how universal energy is operating in your world. Each year you will have different energies that will direct your flow. And if you're in tune, then with your body energies, then you will very much be in tune with universal energy. However, and here's the interesting thing, if you feel like you're constantly running into barriers, then maybe you're not in tune with what the universe is offering you. Some years are lazier years, years to still live your life, but when it's time to switch off, you bloody well have to switch off. Like, I know that's swearing, but the universe is very blunt here. This is a year where you need to rest and recharge. Live your life, sure, but when it's time to rest, you need to rest. And if you don't, the universe says, I'm going to make you rest. And so it makes you sick. so that you stop. So if you're in tune with the universe, then there's no reason for you to be forced to slow down. Other years where it's a non-stop action-packed year where you've got all the energy you need, but yet you're not feeling all that energetic, at any given point, the universe might give you this superpower week or superpower day or superpower month where you go, oh, where did all this energy come from? I've been so lethargic, but all of a sudden I've had 10 coffees. Some funny examples that cartoons do all the time. I mean, we love Scooby-Doo, and Scooby drank coffee once, and Scooby ran around upside down on the roof. I mean, it was hysterical. And that's what can happen sometimes in some years, where you wonder where the energy came from. And that's the universe going, well, here's the energy, use it. It's like fast tracking. If you had a few months where you didn't achieve much, the universe kind of fast tracks, says, here's a whole chunk, go and make it happen. So here's my birthday. So again, 10th of the 10th, 1973, you add all the numbers together, you get 22. Then you take it back to a singular, 2 + 2 = 4. You can keep it as a double digit, 22/4. And again, with the, someone like, say, the Dan Millman Peaceful Warrior website, he does the double digits and the singular digits. So you can learn a little bit about both. That's my ruling number. And for my first year of life, it was also the same personal year number, which I've mentioned. From there, when I turned 1 year of age, I went into a 5 personal year, then 6, 7, 8, 9. At the end of the 9, I go back to a 1 again. And we look at what that transition means as well, and so on. Regardless of what number you start with for every birthday, it goes up by 1, and at the end of the 9, it goes back to 1. Now, I've said that a few times now, but just to, again, remind you, and it was a quiz question, that the start of every cycle of personal year numbers, it's a 1. So, of course, you probably worked this out, or maybe you go, oh, well, duh, once you've seen this, and we did touch on it yesterday, colliding numbers. So for that first year of your life, your ruling number and your personal year number are the same. And then every 9 years, the same numbers collide again. And they collide and like hug, embrace. It's like two magnets getting attached to one another. Hey, buddy, how you going? Oh, it's been ages. Yeah, well, it's been 9 years. Let's, it's like you catch up for a weekend with your mates once a year. And it's, that annual kind of catch up, and you have to do everything, and you're catching up a year's worth of information in 3 days. This is what kind of happens every 9 years, where the two numbers get together again. But what needs to happen is you really need them to be hugging, connecting, attaching, like the two magnets that stick. That creates the strength. It's like they're better together than apart, as opposed to them coming together, boing, boing, in an argument. They're colliding, rejecting one another. So for every single person on the planet, this happens for everyone. So everyone in the first year of life have the colliding numbers, colliding for the good or colliding for the bad. Happens again at 9, 18, 27 years of age, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, however long you live for. And we'll talk about the potential for the best or worst colliding number years in a minute. But there are certain periods in our life where they're very much those kind of make or break parts of our life. So when they're the same, they're called colliding numbers. Again, just think about it as being potentially a a collision that's a hug and magnets connecting, or a collision where you bump into someone, hey, buddy, what are you doing? And there's a buck or an argument. And so the two numbers are like two magnets that will not attach no matter how much you try, they will not. So the colliding numbers, there is no middle ground. It's not like the magnets sometimes connect and sometimes don't. It's not like we've just flipped it over and hello, we're connecting. You can be having a really bad year and have acupuncture potentially doing one of the numbers, and you can turn the magnet and they can hug if they weren't. I guess it's possible to make the hugging not hugging and reject, but why would you do that? Obviously, acupuncture is trying to help a person become better, not worse. So you can turn the magnet with treatment. You can, or, personal growth, but they won't just turn on their own if you keep getting in your own way. So they're either attracted to one another or they bounce off all the time. And you have a busted and broken year. Or you have a world-class year where everything's just humming along beautifully. And we've talked about this, so it's like magnets being pushed together. And this is where sometimes it gets a little bit confusing. So there's kind of 3 personal years where it can be an issue in terms of having a really bad year. And that is if it happens when you have, this is where if you're a ruling number 9, so not a personal year number for a minute, just go back to yesterday. So if you have a patient or a friend or yourself are a 9, a 1, or a 2 ruling number, and then on your birthday, you hit a 9, a 1, or a 2 personal year, then this is where you can have the greatest year or a really difficult year. Okay, so say you're a ruling number 9 and you have a personal year number 9, then the 2 9s are really good or really bad. If you're a ruling number 1 and you have a personal year number 1, again, really good or really bad. Or you're a ruling number 2 with a personal year 2, same thing, really good or really bad. It doesn't seem to be quite as offensive if you're a ruling number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, and you hit your personal year number. So 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 5 and 5, 6 and 6, 7 and 7, or 8 and 8. It's partially to do with the dynamic of what's happening in the personal year. What's the energy of the universe giving you? And in a 9, 1, and a 2, when we talk about them up to lunchtime, the energy is so dynamic in a certain way that it really does profoundly affect people that have the ruling number and the personal year number clashing. That's not to say that I'm a 4 ruling number, that a 9, a 1, or a 2 personal year number might not have its own challenges for me too. It's just, again, it's like multiple things all piling up on top of one another. And I'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about how my last 12 months have gone with my personal year number. I've had piling up of amazing, awesome stuff, but there was just a little bit of time there where the universe said, Davo, you're just going a little bit hard this year. This is not the year for 12 months of unlimited external growth. And so it pulled me up short. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then on top of that, the worst years of your life or best years of your life will tend to be And that's assuming, basically it's every 27 years. So short of someone still living for 27 years more past 81 years of age, and what is that? 19, 7, 108, 27, 100 and, yeah, 108. That would be another year, or whatever it is, 27 years after 81. Not many people live for that age. So when they collide, you have a really good year or a really bad year, in particular when it's the first year of your life, when you're 27 years old, 54, 81. Okay, so one would argue that a broken year for someone that's in their first year of life, a very sad and traumatic situation might be, say, sudden infant death syndrome, where it's just too much. The body of the child it's just too much for them to handle the two numbers together. Now, I know that's probably really sad, and I guess it's one way of looking at that the little soul just couldn't track in this particular time, and that if you believe in reincarnation or not, potentially a future opportunity might be a little bit better for them. Regardless, the first year of everyone's life potentially can be incredibly awesome or very difficult. Even come down to how your birth is. Was it a really traumatic birth? I almost died when I was born. I came out arm first. They dislocated my shoulder. They grabbed forceps, suction cups, ripped me out of there. I had a cone head. As I said, I almost died. They put me in a humidity crib straight away. I didn't get to hug my mum. My dad was at the pub, so I couldn't hug him anyway. But this is 1973. Fathers weren't necessarily at hospitals for births back then, justifying why my father wasn't around. See how I did that? And then they gave me the measles vaccine, as you do. Back in 1973, I don't think they had the triple dose, and then I got measles and almost died again. So it was a very traumatic start, and obviously traumatic for poor old mum as well, but it was a traumatic start to my life. And it could have been too much, but we pushed through. And then potentially 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, every 9 years you get the double up of the number again. But then again, it's to do with the pyramids and numerology that we don't go into because it's a bit advanced, extremely difficult to explain talking to you on a computer. And in some ways, how much extra value does it offer you? And you're already doing 2 full days of numerology this month and possibly 2 more next month. From experience, it's about what I think you can get best value from. And I don't know whether the pyramids really need to be something that go in as an introductory part of numerology. But the pyramids often basically forming that every 27 years of your life, you get a peak in your pyramid around there. So 27 is another really big year. And interestingly, we have this kind of club that the internet is having quite a bit of fun with, called the 27 Club, which are people that are famous that have died when they were 27. And what are some examples? Some of you know already. You're probably going to put it in the chat, aren't you? Kurt Cobain was 27. Amy Winehouse was 27. Jim Morrison was 27. The Doors, one of my favorite bands of all time. Poor old Jim, he was 27. His wife, partner Pamela Courson, was 27. So Jim died when he was 27, and his partner Pamela died when she was 27. Jimi Hendrix was 27. One of the greatest female singers of all time, Janis Joplin, she was 27. And on and on and on. Like and why do you have to be famous and die traumatically when you're 27? You don't. And then there's this kind of bleeding out period as you transition from 27 to 28 years of age that can also be quite traumatic. And it'll make more sense as we go through the personal year numbers. So there almost needs to be another club, like the 28 set or the 28 club or whatever. So our Aussie boy Heath Ledger was 28. Bruce Lee's son Brandon Lee was 28. How are these people dying? Heath Ledger, accidental drug overdose from too much prescription medication. How did Brandon Lee die? He died from being shot by a gun that was supposed to have blanks in it, but didn't. How did Jim Morrison die? We don't really know. How did Jimi Hendrix die? I mean, it was probably a drug overdose, but we don't necessarily know. Same with Janis Joplin. But then sometimes we do know, and it's not an accident, or maybe it is. It's like this whole thing, this disturbing situation. I mean, I don't watch Star Trek, but I think I was reading something recently where one of the younger kids from the kind of reboot of Star Trek, whether it was a movie or whether it was a TV series, his car reversed over the top of him or squashed him into a letterbox or something. It's really gross, I know, but he was 27 or 28, just the last couple of years. Like, how does something like that happen? You know, is universal energy conspiring against us in some way, or are we conspiring against universal energy, is actually the way we should be saying it. Because the universe is providing us with what we need. It's just whether we choose to pay attention. So actually the universe did nothing wrong. And actually we have to own that, as traumatic as it is. So the personal year numbers are worked out in a similar manner to the ruling life path number. The only difference is that you use your last birthday as the basis for working out what your personal year number is. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Just looking at where I'm at with my slides. What's the number of the slides? 35. 35. Okay. And so that'll work out what your personal year number is now. Then you can go, or what was it last year, as a bit of a comparison? What will it be when I have my next birthday? So it's almost like you can prepare yourself for what the energy's potentially going to offer you. So basically for today in the USA, it's the 17th of July. In Australia, it's the 18th. If you haven't had your birthday yet this year, then you go back to your last birthday. Okay, if you've already had your birthday this year, then you put 2022. If you haven't had your birthday yet, you put 2021. I'm going to give you some examples, okay, and then we'll work it out. So again, not everyone's going to watch this live. So regardless, whatever date it currently is that you're watching this, work out about my birthday yet this year, no or yes, and then you work it out from there. So 2 examples. Let's use me again. So I haven't had my birthday yet this year. So my birthday is on the 10th of the 10th. Okay, so I have to take my last year's birthday. So it's the last birthday you had. So for me, it was last year. So I have to add up the 10th of the 10th, 2021. So that'd be the 1 plus 0, 1 plus 0, plus 2 plus 0, plus 2 plus 1. Adds up to a 7. So currently, we're in July. I'm on the back end of a 7 personal year, aren't I? And then on my birthday this year, I will move into an 8 personal year. My mum's the 2nd of the 2nd. So she's already had her birthday this year. Look at the 2s. So her birthday, and this year, she was a 2, 0 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2. All of that added up to 10. So going back to a single digit, 1 plus 0 is a 1. So mum, on her birthday, which she's had obviously earlier this year, she transitioned into a 1 personal year. And then for her, she now will not change her personal year until her birthday next year. Now, again, before we get to working it out, there's a few more little bits and pieces we need to discuss before we work it out. So there's this kind of talk about universal days and universal years. So you can go down to minutest details about what the universal day number is and even what the universal year number is. It's very easy to work out what the universal year number is, and it is taken from the 1st of January. It's like every year changes on January 1, doesn't it? So that's kind of its birthday. So January 1 each year is a new year. So far this year, it's 2022. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 is a 6. So at the moment, the universal year is a 6. It doesn't matter that the universal year is a 6, but my personal year is a 7. It doesn't matter that it's not the same. Universal energy is unlimited. So it can handle the billions of people on the planet and all the various numbers plus its own number. It's not even blipping. It's got it completely under control. And you can even work out what the day is. I don't get hung up on that sort of stuff. It seems like you're almost taking numerology and making it a religion if you want to take it that far down the line. But if that's the way you want to do it, please. Sometimes if you have a really busted or broken day, or this like the greatest day you've had in living memory, it's curious to look back and work out what the number was of that day and see if it was connected to any of your other numbers. And don't be surprised if it happened to have a colliding, hugging, embracing, connecting magnets. Or the worst day in living memory, they collided. Not always, but that is often the case. So you could work out what every day of the year was in terms of universal day numbers. It does give you like a personal day number, I guess, but really it's the year ticking over. So without being technical, it's really still just a universal day number. So let's use today as the example. Obviously in Australia, we're one more day ahead. So we would put the 18th of July, 2022 in here. What is it in Europe? It's probably still the 17th over in München. It would still be the 17th. So today is actually a 3-day. Or on Christmas this year, it'll be a 7-day. But then the universe also has year numbers. As I said, it's a year 6. So when we get to 6 later on this morning, you can go, okay, well, what's happening this year universally? So what is this saying here? We can therefore refer to the personal year number 6. Yeah, so I've said that. So final thoughts. If your personal year number is not the same as the universal year number, it doesn't matter. It can handle it. Talked about that already. And for those that want to get really specific on this and work out universal day numbers, interestingly, about every 1.5 weeks, your personal year number, which you have the whole year, and the universal day number that changes every day, about every 1.5 weeks, those numbers are the same. So you could argue that every 1.5 weeks, there's the potential for those numbers colliding for the good or for the bad. And then the last point we've already mentioned. So the archetype systems are how we make the point combinations. We will discuss this to lead into the break. So then we'll do our personal year numbers after the break and any friends or family. No. No, I want to work out the numbers now. So I'm changing the rules of my own slides. I want us to work out the personal year numbers. We've just talked about it. This is now changing to a kind of almost talking about how the point combinations are made. So what I want you to do now, hang on, just have a quick sip of coffee, which is now cold, iced coffee, yay. What I want you to do, and if you need to just check, I can't check all 140 of you in the chat, but what I want you to do is work out your personal year number. So let's go back to a slide. Where am I going? Yeah. So focus on these 2 points, the second and third. If you've had your birthday this year or not had your birthday this year, if you've had your birthday this year, you put your day, your month, and 2022. Okay. If you've not had your birthday this year, then you go back to your last birthday. So say for me, it was the 10th of the 10th, 2021. So where was your last birthday? Was it this year, last year? Put down that year and the day and the month. So in the chat, if you want to put some examples up. So I'm just looking back at some of this. Some of you are saying it's your birthday today, are you? I'll look back at that chat during the break and see if there's anything here. So some of you are 4s, 5s, 6s in a 4-year till October. (19th of the 6th, 2022). So 9, 10, 16, 17, 19, 20, 22, 4, yeah. Johnzo, you've had your birthday this year, so that's correct. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is a 2, yes. Can you have 0? 1 plus 9 is a 10, which is a 1. Not sure I fully understand that. Yes, so the 19th of August, you haven't had your birthday yet, but it's not far off. So if you're currently in a 10, 18, 9, 20, 23 is a 5, yes. So you will move into a 6 next month. Okay, so Angie, if that's how you pronounce your name, so that's your date of birth. So you would go, what is that, the 1st of July? So you've just had your birthday. So you would write the first, you'd write 7/1/2022. So that'd be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is a 5. So if I've done that correctly, Angie, your personal year number and your ruling year number is actually the same this year. Charlene, if that's how you pronounce your name, yeah, your birthday is coming up, but you haven't had it yet. This is 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 is a 7 personal year, but going into an 8 very soon. Alexa, your personal year collides with your ruling number 8, so yes. Jano's had a colliding year that's not been wonderful. Stella, you've had your birthday, so yes, so you are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is a 2, yes. Anno, you have not had your birthday yet, so yes, you're 2021. So 9, 10, 14, 16, 18, 19, 9 plus 1's 10's a 1. Did I say that too quick, Anne? Anno, Constance? 10th of the 9th, 21. Is that the 9th of October? Anyway, it doesn't matter. 2021. Did you count the 2? 1, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 is a 6. Yes, you did count the 2. Sylvia, 12th and 5th of the 12th? Is that the 5th of December or the 12th of May? Oh, why can't we all be the same? Regardless, it's still going to count up to the same number. 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 is a 4, yeah. Susan, you haven't had your birthday yet, so yes, you go back to the previous year. Cool, cool. So many messages. It looks like you are on the right track, though, across the board. Randy, you're about to have your birthday, so you're still 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is a 5, so you're about to go into a 6, though. Lynn, you've had your birthday because that's the 10th of January, so yes, you're a 2022. Lino, you have had your birthday just recently. Yep, 2021s for some of you. That's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, it seems like most people. Okay, so Betsy, you're going to have the colliding numbers then, if that's what you're saying, on your birthday. Charlene, am I missing something? The 30th of August 2021 is your personal year number, correct? So on the 30th of August 2022, your personal year number will go up by 1. So you're close to actually transitioning into your next personal year number. Oh, it's been a great year. So colliding in a good way, yeah. Look, they talk about personal year numbers. Is there any master personal year numbers? Thank you, Lena, if I've said your name correctly. Some numerologists put master year numbers down for personal years, so they can mention the value of that. The personal year numbers for me seem to track really just 1 to 9, back to 1 to 9, back to 1 to 9. Haven't sort of necessarily seen big differences there in terms of having a master personal year number, but I mean, maybe it's something to pay attention to. Constance, your last birthday was the 14th of September, yeah, last year. So 9, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19. Ooh, have I added that up wrong? 9, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 9 plus 1 is 10, so it's a 1. So, Constance, I think that's a 1, and you'll move into a 2 next birthday. Yes, correct, Leanne. It's the appropriate year. So it's the year of your last birthday. So your ruling number is, for me, 10th of the 10th, 1973. But my personal year number is my last birthday. So 10th of the 10th, 2021. Okay. Yeah, so thank you for sharing, Dara. Man, I cannot keep up with all of these messages, but thank you so much for being involved and engaged. Yeah, possibly a really super intense year if the master year number matches with your ruling number. Yeah. My ruling number is a 5. Personal number is 5. If you're currently in a personal year 5 right now, then this is your colliding year right now. But at your next birthday, then it would no longer be. Yeah, Lena, so I'm sorry to hear that. Yes, that's, yeah. Yeah, it looks like most of you seem to have worked that out. Yes, all I can say is because there's so many of you, it's very difficult to check everyone. But Angie, if you're, where are we going back? It was just there, wasn't it? How far back? Too far back. So for Angie, and this applies for anyone, if your ruling number is a 5 and then your personal year number is a 5, then that's your colliding. Okay, so a good year or not so good year, or a horrendous year. Okay, so, but for me, I'm a 4 ruling number, so my personal year number is a 4 when it collides. So my 2 4s are colliding for the good or the bad. I think Donna yesterday mentioned that she was an 11-2, so a 2. So Donna's colliding numbers are the 2s. Some of you mentioned that you were a 33-6 or a 6 personal year, ruling number. So the 6s are your colliding numbers. It's the same number. Okay, so Angie, you're in a 1 personal year. So when you get to a 5, yes, that will be the colliding numbers if that's your ruling number. Okay, so yeah, Donna is in a personal year 3. So she just had her colliding numbers. Only if the numbers are the same, correct? You just passed your crazy year, yes. I'm a bit behind on the chat here, clearly. Yeah, okay. Thank you, everyone. We need to keep moving, and in about 8 minutes or so, we will have a break. See how we go with the slides. So where am I up to? Now, if you were here yesterday, this is kind of the same set of slides to explain how the point combinations are structured. It's not like part 1 of yesterday morning, that whole run of slides. This is just those few slides to explain why I've chosen elements and spirits. So I know that probably not everyone was here yesterday, but I'd like to be able to move through this a little bit more swiftly. In the end, it is me using that 30 years of Chinese medicine experience, the 30 odd years of numerology experience, and subjectively or objectively, I can never get that right, kind of going, well, how could we construct treatments in the same way? So basically, I'm trying to figure out a way that we can merge numerology with Chinese medicine in a way that we can construct a treatment to help our patients. In the end, it's about finding a way to give you a treatment that you can use for your clients. Okay, so that's how it's been built, but not through lack of common sense or experience. In a not dissimilar way to say, you have a patient with a condition that you've not treated before. So we mentioned earlier, someone was saying that they treat fibromyalgia. So I haven't treated fibromyalgia since I first graduated. I had 2 fibromyalgia patients and 2 MS patients at the same time. What are the odds of that? And unless you're kind of specializing in that sort of field, so, which I wasn't. So that was when I was early 20s, like mid 20s. So that's been 20 odd years since I've treated a patient. I've had patients with fibromyalgia since then, but they have not wanted acupuncture for it. So if I was to treat it again, I would want to learn more about it. So by learning about it again, I would go to websites. I would, learn as much as I could from medical journals and things to get a sense of what it was. As I understood the signs and symptoms of it and learnt what it was presenting as for my patient, that whole picture creates the point combination in my head. And that's how these point combinations are created on the slides for you today. They're created via design. It's like what I talked about with little jigsaw puzzle pieces in my brain. It's like lots of different pieces kind of coming together to create the completed jigsaw puzzle. And that's the design of the point combinations. So they won't necessarily match your own archetype. So whatever personal year number you're in, it changes every year. So it could never fit whatever archetype you are. Now, if you've done 5-element archetypes, then you'll look at the numbers and you'll go, oh, I'm not that. That's not my archetype. But it changes every year. It's different to your ruling number that's the same number for your whole life. So regardless of your 5-element archetype, guardian or support act or primary, secondary, it actually doesn't matter. But what's interesting is that you can go, like I'm a fire guardian and a water support. I can look at what number most closely aligns with me, and I could potentially say, oh, this could be an interesting year for me. And it won't always be the number that's the colliding number. And we'll talk about that again in a bit more detail later. So it may not match. Okay. And that's the example I gave where I'm a fire water in my 5-element archetype system, but I'm a 1973 baby, which is a water ox. So in astrology, it would suggest that I'm a water archetype, but I'm actually fire. And it's because the Chinese astrology system is not aligned perfectly with 5-element archetype system. Even though it's still Chinese medicine and Chinese medicine thinking, it's also got a little bit of a Western flavor to it, that 5-element archetypes. And then you merge with the fact that my physical appearance, if someone saw me in the street, apart from my red face and losing a bit of hair, my overall appearance, if you were an acupuncturist seeing me come into your clinic, you might diagnose me as being an earth archetype because of my appearance. But I'm not, I'm a fire. So my example doesn't align many concepts, and the same thing applies with the point combinations. When I'm trying to fit the elements and the spirits into the point combination, don't try and make a square fit into a circle. It's a way of structuring the treatment. I hope I explained that well. Talked about that already. Mentioned that also. So the design is that there's a primary or guardian element or archetype. That's where more of the acupuncture points will be structured from. And then there's the support with slightly less number of points. Or if they're really close, they might even have the same number of points. And the design is a balancing treatment. So we're not looking at what happens if, say, your 1 personal year number, you're operating in more of an excess, or your patient is, and we're not looking at if they're operating on a deficiency. Irrespective, this is a treatment that should bring up the deficiency or bring down the excess into that balance point. If they are raging excess or severe deficiency, look at the treatment for that person's personal year number and maybe make a few adjustments to make the treatment a little bit more aggressive, possibly, or more active, depending on how you want to describe or the words you're using. So the regulating treatment's basically pretty safe in terms of helping to balance them out. But if they're excess or deficient in really extreme manner, you might change the points slightly because you're treating the person, not the disorder, or you're treating the person, not a label. So still treat that person for that exact point in time. So allow the point combination to be adjustable. Each of the point combinations are structured using this collection of points. Okay, so yesterday this was a quiz question, today it is not. So we might use front mu points or back shu points. We might use yuan source points. The orrery points are the earth on earth, water on water, wood on wood. It's the element of the element. So every channel has a wood, fire, earth, metal, water point. And then every channel will either be wood, fire, earth, metal, or water. So let's say, for example, bladder 66 is a water channel, and bladder 66 is the water point on the water channel. Or lung 8 is the metal point on the metal channel. So they are element regulators. So they work out what's wrong with the element and they balance it. Lower her C points, there's 6 of them. They are all on your legs, and they're for the yang channels. So they're points like gallbladder 34, stomach 36, bladder 40, for example. There's 6 of them, and they balance out the yang component. So sometimes they're quite relevant. Kidney spirit gate points we touched on quite a bit yesterday in terms of the value of treating a person's spirit or soul and Shen based stuff, as opposed to, say, the structure of the organ. We're doing the metaphysical or spiritual aspect of the organ, which is why the outer bladder channel points are often very good as well, and possibly some other miscellaneous points. So that's the list that we're going to work through, and that will come up again in the next set of slides. But what you can see is that there's the guardian or main element, and then sometimes on the support we've got 1, sometimes we've got 2. Really, in the end, when you look at what each number is representative of, it's 1 element, 2 elements, 3 elements that are dominant. There's always that 1 dominant one, and maybe sometimes 1 or 2 supporting ones. And that's, again, to help me design the acupuncture point combination. So there's a little funny name or a catchy name or an interesting name on the side, and we'll talk about them as we go through. So for me, my ruling number is a 4. My personal year number when it collides is a 4. So for every 9 years, I would be paying attention to that 4 being the colliding year for me. So when you see powerful consolidation, it's a year for me to have a particularly consolidating year. It's also a practical year, or it could be the opposite of that. Using Donna as the example, she's an 11-2, and she just had her 2 personal year. So for her year was very intense within probably her internal processing system, how she's viewing herself, how she is processing external information and filtering it through into her internal environment, and other things. But she can go back. When we get to 2, she can look at that. And the same applies for different people. We mentioned, so I saw someone say they had a 6. So if they're a 33-6 and they just had a 6 personal year, then that's your colliding numbers. So I hope that made sense. And you can even look at your 5-element archetypes. So obviously for me, a 4 is particularly important, but I'm also a fire-water in 5-element archetypes. So I could look down here and go, are there any there that are fire and water together? You can see 2 of the years fire is dominant. So they could be interesting years for me because fire is my dominant element. Or is there any years where there's fire and water together? And you can see the 9 is. So potentially in a 9 year, even though the metal dominates, excuse me, fire and water are support. So that could be quite a profound year for me too. So there's lots of different potentials that you can look at here. So to finish off as we head to the break, there's something for everyone across the 9 years. Okay, it could be an active year, a relaxing year, a practical year, a dreamy year, organized year. You've got 3 power years in a row. And then you get 1 more power year at a different point in the 9 years. There's 3 self-esteem years in a row. There's 2 dream your grandest dream years in a row. There's a year to rest and recharge, take time off, holiday, be on your own. Some years are a bit of a mix. Okay, so there's a lot happening. Okay, so where are we? It must be 10:35 for LA. So, well, 10:36 now. Let's take 9 minutes. So 10:45 LA time back, please, or whatever it is now. Just come back in 9 minutes, please, and we'll continue on, start working through. So enjoy your sneaky little break, and I'll see you again shortly.